Hi. Hi. Happy holidays. How are you all doing? Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. The Netherlands. Hi. We're going to get started here because I'm really excited to talk about this Venus conjunct Pluto. And let me see here. Michigan, snow in Michigan. Texas, hi. Hi, guys. Okay, good. I'm glad it's live. I can't always tell. It takes a minute for the chat to start going. So thanks for being here. We're going to talk about this Venus conjunction to Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius in your chart. I think it's a big deal. I do. I think it's a big deal. So you can follow along. Hi, Tanya, New Orleans, Detroit, Netherlands, Slovenia. I'll try to send you guys some sun and some heat here in Florida, 67. Can't complain. I miss the cold though, because I'm used to the seasons. I love the seasons. Yeah. Okay, so what you'd want to do is follow along in your chart if you'd like. I'm not going to be able to watch the chat too much because it distracts me. But I want to talk about why this Venus conjunct Pluto is important for us as we move into next year. Okay, so a few things to note about Venus. Venus has multiple cycles, different ways that we measure her cycles. When Venus is direct, Venus will take 9 months to go through all 12 astrology signs. Okay, so that's a fast-moving Venus, right? Only 9 months. But when Venus is experiencing a retrograde, she takes 18 months to then journey through all 12 astrology signs. Then we also have the cycle of the Venus star point, which is important every 4 years and every 8 years. So Venus has multiple ways that we measure the transits and watch where she's important. Now, earlier this year in 2024, Venus was conjunct the sun in Gemini, and we had a full Venus. It's called a full Venus. And that was part of a Venus star point transit from 4 years ago. Okay, so just as an example, there's multiple ways that we look at Venus. Venus conjunct Pluto, newly in Aquarius, at 0 degrees twice this year, means that we've been powerfully undergoing changes in all these Venus areas and expressions in our lives that is first destroying, Pluto always destroys first, destroying what no longer serves you, especially your self-worth, your self-love, your self-confidence. And so it's like this Venus is moving us in between timelines of how we used to understand ourselves in the world and what we're now fully embracing and moving into because of these two conjunctions with Pluto. So just to make it basic, because I know that there's people who watch at all different levels of astrological knowledge, Venus relates to your ability to love yourself, what you are good at, what your gifts are, where you accept yourself and you feel good about who you are, how you love your sense of style, your confidence, your creative gifts. You know, understanding that you are here to create, you are a creator, and Venus wants you to trust that part of yourself, wants you to create a life that you're proud of, wants you to have joy in the journey, wants you to feel good about what you're doing and who you are, and maybe, you know, the clothes you're wearing, or what you're listening to, the music you're listening to. Venus relates to how we experience our own five senses, okay? So think of our five senses, and that's Venus's domain, where you want to enhance it, harmonize it, appreciate it. Venus then relates to how we take that foundational imprint of our self-love, self-confidence, self-value, and how that then creates other areas of our lives based on that energy. So it's how you create friendships and connections, partnerships, relationships. That Venus energy is how you then feel worthy of connecting, of letting people know you, understand who you are, know your needs. Venus is also about how we receive. And with the Venus energies, it's how we receive compliments. It's being able to say thank you when someone opens the door for you or when they want to buy you a coffee. It's your ability to receive gifts on your birthday. Venus is how you receive energy regularly, and how that's a very important part of being recognized, valued, loved. Venus relates to your love language and what that is for you and how that can change, of course, at different times in your life. Then we take all this, and Venus relates to finances, money, income, what you believe you're worthy of receiving financially, how you create abundance for yourself, how you manifest that. If you're going to be a powerful manifester and own it, you've got to have a healthy Venus, because it's your ability to receive, whether that's receiving a raise, receiving maybe it's like receiving a higher income, of course, but a higher understanding of what's available to you in this lifetime. This Venus energy, because it's about being receptive and how you receive, it's your magnetism. What you magnetize in, what you call in energetically through that base frequency. So understanding Venus, of course, relates to all this. And then she takes all that energy, you're like magnetizing it in, you're pulling it in, it's giving you life. It feels good. It's helping you with your confidence and your sense of self and just being able to value who you are. Then you create in a new way. You create more. You create more that you love or more that you enjoy. You recreate your life. So understanding the Venus concepts is important, because Venus conjunct Pluto is allowing us to access more of what we want to recreate at a higher frequency. And this transit happened twice this year, and I feel like it's a big deal because Venus is the first personal planet, besides the moon, that's been conjunct Pluto twice. So that means now that Pluto is in Aquarius, 0 degrees of Aquarius, Venus has been here twice and has experienced the intense initiation of Pluto, and it's bringing up all these Venus themes I just named. It's bringing up, what do you want to recreate now? Because even though Pluto, and I'll talk more about Pluto in a second, even though Pluto is intense and emotional, and there's a lot going on around Plutonic energies that have to destroy. It has to shatter, it has to end, it has to collapse. Ultimately, Pluto, especially in Aquarius, is wanting to connect you with a more empowered baseline frequency that is not ruled by fears, that is not ruled by limitations or doubts, that is not ruled by psychological programming that maybe you've carried for lifetimes. I mean, that's part of how Pluto works, is that it's connected to your soul's evolutionary journey. And so when Pluto shows up through a transit, or when Pluto is strong in your natal chart, what Pluto does is it, pulls you by the ankle into the underworld of your unconscious and requires you to look at fears. And so this is where it's interesting, because what it reminds me of is that the Pluto initiation journey comes from your soul. It comes from a part of you that knows, with all of your deep wisdom, that you're meant to evolve in every lifetime. You're meant to evolve with every Pluto transit. You're meant to move into more of who you really are. And in order to do that, you've got to go down deep into the underbelly, into the dark unconscious, and you've got to face some things that are uncomfortable, emotional, intense, fearful, messy. You get the gist. And what Pluto then does is it deepens your understanding of who you really are. And I call it the Pluto promise. That's what one of my mentors referred to it as well. He was said that, Pluto will always deliver. Pluto will always reward you in some capacity, but you don't know what that is. And you're not going to know what it is until the Pluto transit is done and has moved on. And at a technical level, Pluto actually has to move on usually by 1 or 2 degrees. It's not an immediate knowingness, which means you aren't going to know an answer for like 2 years. We don't like that. We want to know now. But no, you're on this Pluto journey and you don't get the new empowered version of yourself until after you've gone through the Plutonic transformation. And so the other side of Pluto is that you are more empowered and you've shifted your baseline frequency. You've changed in ways that you probably can't fully grasp or maybe even understand, but you've been required to do very deep internal work. When you have the energy here of Venus conjunct Pluto, we are each undergoing a deep reprogramming of our self-value, our self-worth, our love frequencies, our ownership frequencies, what we value. We're changing our value systems. We are looking at what fits for what I want in the future. What have I outgrown? We're looking at what in my world really adds to my energy, what drains it. And the Pluto journey, Venus conjunct Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius, started in February, specifically was February 16th, at 0 degrees, which is an initiation energy, right? Brand new energy, just got into Aquarius. And as I was talking about this, I realized, well, this is the story of Persephone being kidnapped by Hades, Pluto being Hades, Persephone being Venus, being pulled into the underworld against her seemingly free will, but working with her soul's will, her soul's desire for transformation, and requiring you to look at habits and patterns that have been unconsciously operating within you your whole life. And I'm saying your whole life because this is the first time that Venus and Pluto have been conjunct in Aquarius in our lifetime. And so that was February. Now here we are, December. And December 7th is when Venus has that second conjunction to Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius, same degree point in your chart, but now she's been on a full journey through all 12 astrology signs. Since February, what have you had to powerfully face in yourself that you realize it's not unicorns, it's not butterflies, this isn't good for me, this isn't what I love, this isn't who I love, this isn't what I want? Because that level of awareness is showing up again in December. But now, when you see this span of time, right? When you see what's unfolded here since February to December, you've probably had to face your own patterns, habits, fears, psychological programming, unconscious actions, behaviors, stuff in Venus, with Venus, in a whole new light, in a whole new way. Now with Aquarius, Aquarius wants us to move into our brilliance. Aquarius gives you access to more of your own genius, to more of what's possible for you that you didn't realize. And because this energy is still ongoing, you could feel like, you know, the answers are going to come in even if they're not fully here yet. But how I'm seeing this, and of course, take it if it resonates, is that we're having a new understanding of where our self-love is rising up. And how I've been seeing it are these changes in codes, like coding. I'm using my fingers as if it's like, I'm seeing it as like these little codes. Like you could say snowflakes. You could say like, you know, imprinted codes that are shifting and evolving. It's almost like collapsing to recreate. And they look shinier, newer, you know, more effervescent, more brilliant. And there's these new codes coming through around what you really want now or who you really are because of the deep questioning, deep work, what you've been facing, what you've had to acknowledge in yourself that you're outgrowing and moving through. And the Pluto work is intense and emotional. It's needing support, needing a counselor, therapist, energy work, healing work. Because with Pluto, you can't just do anything surface level. You've got to go into it. And this is setting us up. It's a setup. Like, okay, I mean that in like the supportive way, not like it's a setup. There's something bad that's going to happen. I mean the setup, because it's happening at 0 degrees of Aquarius. There's a new energy that's meant to come forward, and Venus is preparing it. She's seeding it, putting in the seeds, like allowing the new energy to come forward. And it's connected to these new codes, this new code of understanding more of what you want. So what have you realized here throughout most of 2024 that, by the way, could be very unconscious? And that's why I wanted to do this YouTube live, was to bring it to your attention, like to bring forward, okay, what relationship patterns or habits are you done with? What friendship energies no longer fit for you? What financial energies do you want to evolve? But it has to baseline. Like some people will say, okay, I don't want to be stuck in a certain cycle where I'm always worried about what's in my checking account, or I'm always worried about money or overly consumed with money. And what you have to look at is, well, what have been the fears operating there that maybe you grew up with, that were taught or told through your parents, through your family? Where do you need to now reprogram that and look at it from a more empowered state? We live in an abundant world. there is no shortage of money on this planet. There's no shortage of resources. There's no shortage of what you can create or experience. And part of what this energy does is it's like, if you want to manifest something and you're only focused on the financial part of it, you got to open that up, because the universe can create something even better that isn't based on money or finances. You know, if you want to go on an amazing vacation or have a once in a lifetime bucket list trip and you're only focused on money, it shuts down the other ways that the universe could allow that to happen for you. So for example, maybe you get invited to go with someone and they're going to cover half your costs. Maybe you can do something because you've got a great deal that shows up, or whatever. You have to open it up beyond money is what I'm getting at here. You have to expand it beyond only thinking of abundance, luxury, prosperity as money, because that is just one energy form. And the universe can work in all energy forms. So Venus conjunct Pluto here, it's looking at financial fears, financial limitations, psychological programming, stepping into the sense of like knowing that you're empowered and that you can create anything you want in your life. You've got to open it beyond only seeing it financially or only seeing it as something that happens through currency. It's energetic currency is the more powerful currency. Venus conjunct Pluto is also bringing up not only financial habits, relationship habits, and creation habits. It's bringing up how you are really loving who you are as a unique individual, which is Aquarius, okay? This Pluto in Aquarius is requiring us to step into more of who we are individually. And this is going to bring up where you have felt like the black sheep, misunderstood, an outcast, where you're like, I don't know where I fit in society. I don't belong to this family. I don't know who my friends are. Venus conjunct Pluto is bringing up ways to change that, to understand how, you know, being unique and being an individual is exactly where we're going, because it opens up more diversity, inclusion, options. It opens up more creativity, more ways of being you on the planet than ever before. And we're going to be continuing to reprogram. It can be wounding. It can feel like it's a wound. We're going to be reprogramming that energy because the collective needs it. Humanity needs it. And I feel that that's where we're going to have some amazing developments and breakthroughs here that we've been waiting for. This is very progressive energy. It's very progressive, very liberating. And Venus is asking you to love yourself for how you're different. It's sort of like being able to say, okay, this is how, you know, my life has played out to a certain extent, and now I'm ready to move into it. Oh, I've been an astrologer for how many years now? And I'm so grateful to be an astrologer. Never, ever thought I would be an astrologer, that I would be doing this professionally. Never. Hid it for so many years. Would talk it down. Would keep it, you know, behind the scenes. And part of my journey as a professional astrologer is owning that this is what I do, especially around people who judge me, who give me the side eye, who think I'm weird, who, you know, step away from me. All of that still happens. All of that still happens. But my journey with being an astrologer has been my own self-acceptance of it. And astrology is, of course, Aquarius. And it's where, astrologers too have been on the sidelines for centuries. And yet we hold this cosmic wisdom that's designed to support people, to help them, to guide them. So astrology is going to be coming forward. More people are going to be curious and interested in astrology. That's where it's going. That's what the energy is suggesting here. But Venus is how you love and accept yourself for who you are first. I've turned to astrology, well, for decades. I've always turned to astrology during the hardest parts of my life. When my life was horrible, when things were tumbling down, like I have these years of my life that I call my Sharpie years. 2007 to 2009, my Sharpie years, because I'm like, those are the years that I just want to like black it out on the calendar. Like those years were so hard, so destructive, like the hardest years of my life. And I'm like, Sharpie years, like I don't want to believe that, like it was just too much, But and of course I was having a big Pluto transit. But I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, those are the years where the universe was absolutely directing me on my real path, on my true path, amongst all the destruction, amongst everything that was ending in every area of my life. Relationship, job, home, everything was over in my life. And so there was a sense of having to not only drudge through that, but then understand that it was serving a purpose. And so with these Pluto energies, it brings you into more of your fears and more of how you're not meant to be like anybody else, but you're not meant to be like a previous version of yourself. You're not meant to be like a previous version of yourself. So when I think about Venus conjunct Pluto twice this year, where have you permanently evolved? Because as we move into 2025, you're going to start to feel it and sense it in yourself even more. And we're going to have Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces, March, April 2025. So this Venus energy that you are meant to be powerfully transforming right now, in March and April, the energies of Venus retrograde in Aries are bringing you back into further integrating it into your self-identity. And then the energy going back into Pisces is really fascinating because it's clearing out more of who you used to be. It's clearing out more karma because Venus is going to be retrograde in Pisces, North Node, Neptune, Saturn. We're clearing the slates here in some really big ways. And I feel like where this is going is that there's going to be this huge up-leveling for people who are doing this work around self-love. And then it shows up in all areas of life. So you start creating something in a whole new way. You have this new sense of your creative self and your creative life force coming through. You're going to have new relationships, partnerships, friendships coming through based on how you are loving yourself now, based on who you really are after you've cleared out so much that's no longer really truly what you're about. You're going to have new ways of also connecting with an effortless manifestation stream. So visualize that effortless manifestation stream where you're able to call in what you need. You're able to receive it. You're able to magnetize it and own it, embrace it, and continue working with it in your life. but it can only happen when you face some deeper fears here. Now, Venus conjunct Pluto brings up power dynamics, psychological components. It can be like being very controlling, very much about power in relationships. It can be very much about, okay, how am I going to, manage this? And maybe it's through use of manipulation. That Pluto energy can be conniving. It keeps secrets. It's like, how can I get someone to do something if I do da-da-da-da? It's like this game, this psychological game. But the thing about Pluto is that, especially with Venus, it's connecting you to a deeper need. What is the need? Because when you identify the need that's underneath power or control or manipulation, when you identify the need, that changes how Pluto operates. And that need, it'll bring you into something that you've never received or you've never had in your life. Maybe it's bringing up, where you were traumatized or used or abused, or where you were denied something that was important to you. And there's so many ways this can be expressed, of course, but I think it's important to understand that when you're consciously working with Pluto, you want to be asking, what's my need here? What am I needing? And it's probably going to feel vulnerable. And that means you're on the right track. If it feels vulnerable, like maybe that Venus conjunct Pluto need is, I need more connection. I need more emotional support. I need more validation. And then you realize, but that comes from within. Because thinking that you can control others or manipulate them, or that you're trying all these like power games or tactics like that doesn't work. That's how you ruin relationships. That's how you ruin friendships and dynamics. And in Aquarius, the answer is freedom. The answer is understanding who somebody is as an individual, allowing them to be their true self. And can you give them space for that? And so there's more detachment needed here. That's part of what Pluto and Aquarius is going to bring up. It's like, how can we understand the dynamic of connection with people and the freedom to be themselves, the freedom to fully accept who they are, and that their needs are different than your needs. And what is your responsibility to give to yourself? And then where do you seek others for their input? So this is part of the deeper work here. And I feel that people who are very awake and aware, you've already been dealing with this or working with this, especially if you've had big Pluto energies, big Aquarius transits. But for all of us, it's in the collective. And it's bringing up what doesn't work anymore and what does work. What you don't need and what you do need. Because the thing about Venus is that it brings you into your choice points. Your choice points around what you're going to receive and what you're going to reject, what you attach to, what you disconnect from. Where you're sourcing healthy energies versus where you're realizing, this is not healthy. This is not good for me. This is not good for my heart. It's not good for my self-esteem. It's not good for my self-love, my self-value. These are big deal themes. These are themes that shape our lives. Think about the key relationships in your life and how important they are, right? How, a long-term relationship, a marriage, a friendship, that's a big deal. Those are the people that you are choosing to energetically interact with and share space with. Those are the relationships that define us. And so what Are you ready to consciously do better, to up level, or to shift? Because it's connected to more of your self-love. It's connected to more of how you love who you are and what you want in this life. So when I see this Venus conjunct Pluto, you have these realizations of, I don't want this anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. That isn't good for me. That doesn't support me. It's not loving. And then from there, we have relationship changes. We have friendship changes. We have shifts in our interpersonal dynamics because we're realizing this doesn't connect with who I really am and what I really want to create, especially in my life going forward. So here in December, look for any of those themes that are coming up. How did they present back in February? Maybe you feel you're revisiting them. They're coming back around for a second pass, for a fresh perspective. Look at how you've changed. What are you handling from a new point of personal power? That's a big question. But understand that that's what this energy has been about. And it's interesting because I didn't see this transit happening twice back in February. It wasn't until December that I realized it's the second time we're getting this. So there's more here. Now, as we go into 2025 and 2026, Venus, of course, every time she comes back into Aquarius, she's going to be conjunct Pluto. But here's something to compare. Since 2008 to 2023, when Pluto was in Capricorn, Venus was conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. How would you define the relationships you had 2008 to 2023? Because the Pluto in Capricorn would have been challenging you to look at your own authority, to look at your own role. It would have been more traditional roles in Capricorn. The structure of relationships, the understanding of this is what we do because this is how it was taught to me. This is how my parents did it. This is what society expected of me. Or these were certain relationships that were never equal. And they pushed you to see some things or understand some dynamics. So that energy of Venus working with Pluto and Capricorn would have been, like, you could summarize it, perhaps by understanding, well, who showed up in my life, 2008, 2023, that was advancing my ability to own what I need through Capricorn. Now we enter a new phase, a new 20-year phase of new relationships, new connections, new interactions showing up that you've never had before. And it can be like this oddball dance. Like you realize, oh, I'm friends with this person. I never thought I'd be friends with someone like that. Or, you call in people who could look a certain way, who could look very different than your typical friend or your typical partner. And yet you share a common frequency or a common forward trajectory. You're on the same page with certain dreams or life visions, which is Aquarius. We're going to be calling in all new kinds of individuals into our lives. It'll be surprising. It'll probably be really cool because maybe you share a past life with them, of similar experiences, similar events. But it's been opening up this year. It's been opening up this year. So know that this could explain any changeover you've had in relationships. You're moving out of that Capricorn responsibility and moving into the Aquarius of, but this is who I really am. Or this is where I'm really going. Or this is what really is calling to me. So just know that it's happening in the collective. The changeover or the turnover in people in your life is part of the astrology. It's asking for us to be more accepting of people, of where they're at, of who they are. It's asking us to detach responsibly, to understand that if you're not on the same path, you can beautifully honor what is best for them or where they need to go or what they're choosing. And there's a significance here too, because I feel like things happen quickly in Aquarius. Things happen like this. They happen out of the blue and very suddenly. So just stay open to perhaps who shows up for you or who you call in, who you connect with, who you meet along the way. Because these are very different energies and connections than what we've had previously. And of course, it will depend on your natal Venus. Because your natal Venus is how you do connect and what you're exuding in your energy and how you're living it. So I mentioned that Venus conjunct Pluto is part or can be related to the Persephone energy, which I've talked about a million times. But that Persephone energy, she was dragged into the underworld by Hades, which is Pluto. And she was dragged into the underworld, which is her unconscious, and it empowered her. She was less naive, less innocent, less gullible. And that's an important part of the story because it means that then when Persephone returns back up to the surface of the earth, she's wiser. She's more discerning. She's able to look into what is this person's motivations? What do they want from me? What do they value? What are they about? How do they live their life? So this journey makes you wiser, more insightful, can make you more aware of people's motivations and their unconscious operating systems. It can help tune you in to human nature. Are they looking to get something from me? Or are they truly an authentic giver? So keep in mind that you might have some new inquiries coming up with people in your world, people in your life. You might have new insights. Sometimes those are heartbreaking. When you realize someone's real motivations or what they really want or what they're really all about. There could be something too that you're like disappointed. But part of being wiser is accepting people for who they are and accepting what they're about. And then understanding, okay, we're on different pages. this isn't, we're not meant to move forward. We're not meant to be together on this journey. I'm thinking about it as people who are users. You can see through that faster after this year. You can see where it's not reciprocal, where it's just not even. I experience it as an energy. Not everyone does, but trust that, like trust what you're feeling around that. I'm getting a story and I'm like, I don't think I should tell the story. But the story is there's things that you don't always know until you observe someone in action, because value systems and how people operate can take time to show up. It can take time to understand like true motivation, right? So trust what you're feeling, even if you don't see it just yet. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. I'm not going to share the story. Other than it's just something you have to be aware of. You know, people show up in your life and they can say one thing because it sounds good. That doesn't mean it's real. That doesn't mean it's who they really are. So keep that in mind. And I especially apply that to my business, because I've had to fire people who are not walking the talk, or who are not what they think they are, or what they want to be. So I feel like part of this energy is like you just can see people and their motivations in a truer way. It's true. It's true. Okay. Dang, it's been 47 minutes. Well, if you listen to my podcast, you know that I'm pretty consistent. I talk for 45 minutes and then I'm pretty much done. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Hi, Iggy. Hi, Nathan Lee. Hi, Linda. Hi, Charlotte. I'll try and do another one. I haven't done one since September because of the hurricanes. Yeah, the hurricanes were wild. We went to Atlanta. I flew out. So I have a strategy with hurricanes. Like, I don't wait for the masses. If you want to survive the apocalypse, you go fast. You don't wait for other people to decide. You got to get ahead of the masses. So I booked flights to Atlanta. We went to Atlanta. And I chose Atlanta because what happens is that the airports close, all these flights are canceled, and you have to then get back. So you don't want to travel too far, because then if I had to drive back, I didn't want it to be too far. So yeah, it was pretty intense, but I love Florida. I love Florida. And I'm much wiser with the hurricanes now. Much wiser. So that was one of the reasons why I haven't done a live. And then of course, October was crazy with eclipses and retreats I was doing and workshops and all kinds of stuff. So I would love to be doing more YouTube lives when I can. I'll keep you posted on that. Probably not over the holidays because I have family stuff going on, but I look forward to doing it in the new year. And I'll have more videos for you here on YouTube with the astrology energies, of course. So as always, thank you for making time to be here. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I never take it for granted, never. And I'm excited that we can talk about astrology together. So wishing you a beautiful journey through December, great holiday season, and of course a great start to 2025. Bye. Thanks for being here, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.